Hello, dear friends, the lovely audiences. Welcome to the East-West Show. Jack Zhao on the East-West with GN and ETV. Obamacare for quite some time being challenged by Trumpcare, which later failed, which later totally forgotten. Now we have Obamacare only. Should we still go ahead and call it Obamacare, or it has anything new, or what should we do? Because we are right now at the door of 2018. We need to know what we want to do for a brand new year.
Correct.
With the old care system or a brand new care system, whichever. Even in the old care system, there are lots of stuff to talk about. With me to answer these questions is my good friend, the beautiful lady Coco Wang. She is the founder and CEO of Gold Owner, and she is, of course, without a question, a healthcare specialist.
Thank you, Jack.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
Very good. First of all, last year, the past 2017, we have been very, very busy, super busy, for quite a condensed way for 3-4 months. We've been talking about Trumpcare versus Obamacare.
Correct.
And later, well, we know subsided. We know that the Senate and House never passed, right? So, the overall picture, what does it look so far?
Okay, so right now consumers are in a lot of hesitation. People are confused about what's happening next year.
Yeah, like I am.
Yes, people are worried about right now maybe they're receiving subsidy, maybe government paying a portion of their premium. They're afraid that by next year, maybe this portion will be gone, so they will be facing a premium hike in the middle of the year.
Yeah, okay.
So 3 things we want to mention prior to the open enrollment for 2018, which is started already November 1st. That President Trump decided that she wants to cut off the federal payment for a key consumer subsidy.
Which is a subsidy, right?
Correct. And then the second thing is that his administration decision, they have decided to shorten the exchange open enrollment period to 45 days instead of the original 3 months.
Cut in half.
Cut in half, yeah. That's happened in most states except California. California, at least so far for this year, for 2018 open enrollment, we're still November 1st to January 31st. But for a lot of states, their open enrollment stops on the December 15th. So which is quite a big cut in time.
All right, okay. And I would say that the majority of the folks out there are worried about the subsidy.
Correct.
Which is the key element, because if there is no subsidy, and people are kind of driven out, right? So, how likely is the subsidy supposed to stay?
So far as we have been informed, it's still the same for 2018, but as far how it's going to go forward for 2019, we wouldn't be able to advise because nothing has come out yet. As we know, on December 2nd, that Republican Party has passed a tax reform bill, basically saying that they would do something to the taxes, including the subsidy the insurance company receive to pay for the consumer premium. Because of this, it has shaken the core a little bit. A lot of the consumer, including myself, healthcare professionals, and also the industry professionals are really worried that coming 2019, the individual mandate will be lifted and the subsidy will be cut.
That sounds very scary because you on one hand are talking about tax cut, which means a short form. Short of revenue income.
Correct.
Right? With that taken into consideration, you are kind of shrinking on the government custody. The subsidy, right? Okay. And with that, as a consequence, you will see that the benefit we receive get either cut or short. Am I right?
Yes. So as we mentioned previously in this show, in a lot of topic that we have previously talked about, that what we are worried of is that because the individual mandate is being lifted according to the new proposal by the Republican Party. If the individual mandate is being lifted, the current insured population will be left with the sicker population, because the healthy individual probably most likely will not be purchasing.
Yeah, those folks will walk away.
Right.
Right?
So as a result, on top of that, the insured population being the sicker generation, and on top of that, the subsidy being lifted or cut or even eliminated, then we're looking at a huge hike in insurance premium.
Yeah, that probably indicates the third layer of the problem.
Correct.
Right. The third layer of problem being that when the benefit of subsidy is lifted off, the pool of insured would come less.
Correct.
Right. With less people paying their minimum premiums, and the basket will hold less money.
Correct.
And then it goes less and less.
Correct. But paying out more and more, because people are, the insured people are being with more conditions.
To lift it once again to the level of politics, though, from a political point of view, do we Americans deserve that? Or does the system of America allow that to happen? Right? Because you really have to be, okay, when people say being politically right, right? You really, in this area, has to be politically right, right? Do you think there's the political right to do so? What?
Right now, what I'm worried most is that, as we have known before President Donald Trump is really just saying, let's remove Obamacare, replace it with Trump care, and then we're gonna lift the individual mandate, we're gonna give you less premium, we're gonna give you some sort of better plan for everybody and satisfy everybody.
Which we never see.
Which has never happened for
never
2017.
Happened, yes.
But now, in December 2nd, the tax reform bill was actually intermingled with the tax portion of the bill. If you think about it, it talks about individual mandate being lifted, so which is same as before. And it also talked about the subsidy being cut, which is also same as before. But intermingled with it, it's the tax cut for business, it's the individual tax income bracket change. So with that, I think he's trying to shift our attention a little bit, just because we want to pass this tax portion of the bill, which also included some portion of the healthcare, which is same as before, and he's just passing everything together with a wider
As far as
population.
you know, in the area of healthcare, is there any party or any political part of this whole government working on something else to make it up?
As far as we know, even though there are some parties or some government organizations that are working on this issue, but none of them are being publicly notarized or notified by the to the consumer. So we have limited information as far as how can we get access to that. And there is even a Healthy California organization running in California, our domestic local market, which is saying that even though the government may lift the individual mandate, may cut the subsidy, but as Californians, we want to have our own insurance market, and we're gonna provide everyone with insurance.
To me, I want to look at it in a longer view, in the political view. This is not safe for the country.
Correct.
Okay? People can be soothed about, but never suppressed about.
Correct.
Right? If you suppress the average people that much, though, someday, somehow, some problem will happen. Okay, now, suppose if I'm sick, right, and I'm unable to pay my own bill, the government, the subsidy is lifted off, right, and then I'm still sick.
Correct.
Right? Either I die or I fight. So there are going to be some social disturbances, right, that cause.
Correct.
I believe that is not a healthcare issue. It is a political issue. It will be a political issue. by that extent. Do you think so?
I think so as well. And I'm actually looking to for some sort of organization or political parties to pop up, just saying something that speaks for the general public. For me, myself, I support the individual mandate just because, you know, personally speaking, just because I've witnessed a lot of people who prior to the Obamacare administration was not able to buy insurance. They are getting sicker and sicker, but have no access, no rights to get health insurance, to a point that they're now having a cheap, really cheap premium that they're paying for, and a really limited out-of-pocket maximum that they're paying, maybe like $1,000, and that's it. Even though they're spending $1 million to, you know, get cared for. So I think I personally support this kind of individual mandate just because I've witnessed a lot of people being benefited from it, but that doesn't speak for the general public. I think every one of us have the rights to speak up, like you said, but whether there will be a large party representing the voice it will soon be revealed. I hope so.
My dear audiences, my lovely audiences, today we're talking about a very important issue, that is your health care. With me is my good friend Coco. Coco Wang is the founder and CEO of Gold Honor, and she is, no question, healthcare professional, answering questions, and we're discussing about where this whole thing is going to be leading, right? So stay with us. We'll be right back. Peace. Hello, dear friends, lovely audiences, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show talking about healthcare. Our healthcare, United States healthcare, on the average, international average, when compared with other countries, is one of the poorest, right? One of the most broken, one of the, I would say, less functioning or little functioning system. And yet, our politicians are not caring about what we get benefit from. They just do it politically on the level, do the fight when there's not necessary or no need to continue fighting. They just left off. They just go off. Just leave it right there. Now with me today is my good friend Coco Wang. She is the founder and CEO of Gold Honor, a special firm for healthcare for many years, and she is a specialist in the health insurance. We try to look into the years of 2018, and from there on, we try to look into 2019.
Correct.
And then from there still on to 20, something like that, right? Now the question, according to her, is that when Trump administration walks away from the issue, we are coming back to Obamacare.
Correct.
With Obamacare, the big issue is the government subsidy, right? And yet, when Trump left with the tax cut, even though he did not say we cut off the subsidy, but with less government income, the subsidy is nowhere to talk about.
Correct.
And then the Obamacare is facing a subsidy shortage or cutoff.
Correct.
Okay. Now, as to us consumers, who are the ones supposed to be insured, now we're worried about once the subsidies are lifted off, the individual subsidies are lifted off, where are we? And that is the question. What are we supposed to do? My point is that, okay, sometimes you can make your policies otherwise, this way or otherwise whatsoever. On this issue, either you do it or you bear the consequences.
Correct.
The consequences being that when people are suppressed in this way, there's going to be problem. There are going to be social disturbances when millions, hundreds of millions of people feared about their death, worried about their medical bill.
Correct.
So how do you as professionals, when you come together, when you get together, how do you view the problem?
Okay, so as a professional in the industry, I have the rights and the responsibility to inform everyone every customer, every person that I come across, including the audience in front of the TV, that there are some things that remain unchanged. The things remain unchanged, at least with California, is like we mentioned before, the enrollment period for next year is from November 1st to January 31st, still 3 months. The subsidy that we're receiving still remains the same if you qualify, given the household size and the income will still remain, and including the cost sharing reductions, which is the portion that they pay for your co-payment, so you get less co-payment if you get subsidized. That remains the same. However, there are 3 challenges in the current market when shopping for next year, with the upcoming year's coverage. One is that, as we mentioned previously, Anthem Blue Cross, which is one of the largest and oldest carrier in California for health insurance, they're exiting the individual market.
Oh.
Yeah. Maybe not the entire market, but a big chunk of it. Like LA County, Los Angeles County, Orange County, San Bernardino County, and Riverside County. And another carrier, a big carrier called HealthNet, they're cutting their service area, meaning maybe before they're in San Bernardino County, LA County, and Riverside County, but now they're only in LA County and San Bernardino. They're cutting off counties.
They're shrinking their service.
Correct, the service area. Because, as we all have known, that they're expecting a cut in their subsidy. As a result, they have millions of consumers that's flowing in the market, and those consumers are left with only one carrier. Typically, if you want a PPO coverage, which is a Blue Shield of California. If you want HMO, you still have some other sort of coverage, such as Kaiser, such as LA Care, and then there's even an EPO coverage called Oscar, which is a new brand, a pretty new company, relatively speaking. So with those changes in the market, consumers are feeling really confused, frustrated, because, like, for example, Anthem and HealthNet, those consumers being terminated for their current insurance plan, they have to go to a new covered plan in their area to shop for new coverage. They're facing a few problems. Number one is maybe like myself, I'm taking some sort of drug, for example, ABC drug. Maybe currently with Anthem Blue Cross, it's only $5 copay. Maybe I go to Blue Shield, it's gonna be $10 copay. That's not much difference. I can still accept that, right?
Yeah, you can still survive.
Yeah, but if I go to, say, I don't have Blue Shield as my choice, I wanna go to Kaiser, this drug ABC might not be covered. As a result, I'm forced to change my drug, which may be some sort of physical consequence as well, because you need to adjust physically. And second of all, a lot of people maybe are seeing really specialized specialists, maybe like a cardiologist, because they had open heart surgery. But because the plan is being terminated, they have to force to go to a new provider maybe that doesn't take their new insurance. So they have to seek to a different cardiologist who never done open heart surgery for them, but can only based on the diagnosis or the treatment based on their medical records. So there's a lot of complications due to those carriers leaving the market.
It is even more dangerous because you're talking about with the less service, with a shrinking area, with not only the shrinking of area service, but reduction of the quality of the service.
Correct.
Right? Now, before Obamacare, before the birth of Obamacare, we're talking about, oh, that's good, because we have otherwise 27 million people left out on the street uninsured.
Correct.
Now, when we put our hands together, almost everybody is insured. Okay, now, it looks like we're coming back. We're coming back to the old days, prior to Obamacare days, that lots of people are still going to be left on the street without the health coverage.
Correct. If they don't take any action in response to their current plan being terminated, they're left with no coverage. However, I strongly recommend clients to go out there and just call Cover California, call any health insurance agent you can find, because these people are free of charge and they can give you the correct guidance based on your current situation. Especially one thing I want to make a note is I have clients who's currently going through kidney dialysis. That's an ongoing treatment. It's a routine treatment. You have to go maybe weekly or monthly, and you have to get
For dialysis.
Yes, you have to get continuous coverage for that.
Yeah.
If current plan is being terminated, you have to work with your new plan, making sure they know you need to have connected coverage, connected service. There shouldn't be any gap.
Yeah, in other words, some conditions that you can wait, in some conditions you can't wait.
Yes.
For example, dialysis, if you do it on a weekly basis, you can't even miss a week,
Correct.
right? And as far as I know, each time costs about $1,000 for
least.
one session, at least, right? Okay. So the problem is that you mentioned about Cover California, right? I know the money comes from California, but California is not a bank. California is not printing money.
Correct.
Where does California get the money? Where does the Cover California money come from?
Cover California money, most portion of it comes from federal subsidy, which is the subsidy we're talking about that Mr. Donald Trump is
That's a
going to
very
cut.
subsidy.
Correct. So because of that, that's why Anthem Blue Cross, even though they have a very much saturated market, they have a lot of clientele in California, but they decide to leave those counties because those are very costly to them for either managing, and maybe people are not paying enough premium to cover their expense. But at least I'm really glad that we still have a few carriers to choose from, because we don't want to end up with everybody exiting the market because they're not making enough profit to cover their expense. And at the same time, we're left with a monopoly.
Market-wise, I'm not worried a lot because it's a free market anyway, right? When less provider wants to do the job, they leave, and the remainder gets the business, right? So, and there are still incentives for somebody to stay to keep on providing services. All right. Now, I'm most concerned about once you said that. Even Covered California, with the most of the money come from the federal subsidy. So with the federal subsidy, that the various subsidy we're talking about cut off, or where else are we going to get the money?
Correct.
That's the problem.
That's the very big question in the conversation right now. It's very controversial, and everybody's debating over it, and that's why it creates a lot of frustration. Personally, myself as a professional, as an advisor, and also in a lot of consumers.
All right, okay. Very bad news. And my dear audience, today we're talking about healthcare insurance. And with me is my good friend Coco Wang, founder and CEO of Gold Honor. She is a healthcare insurance specialist, and she is sharing with the audiences about the status quo of Obamacare so far, and looking also at the same time into the future, very near future, 2018, for which we're at the door of, and then into the 19 and the 20, the things doesn't look that good. Okay, stay with us. We'll be right back, please. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the East-West Show. My name is Jack Zhao with the East-West with the Jin TV. Today, once again, we're talking about the healthcare issue. Well, healthcare insurance is a big issue when compared to anything else. If there's going to be a war between U.S. and Korea, I may care about, but I will care about less than I cared about the healthcare insurance. I believe the same Same thing applies to you two, my dear audiences. Today with me is my good friend Coco Wang. She is the founder and CEO of Gold Owner, and a specialist sharing her knowledge on the health insurance issue, also its future, near future and midterm future and the long future. Anyway, so the problems are there, and it's so obvious. However, life goes on.
Correct.
Right? There's a day in and a day out. And day by day, life goes on. Week by week, life goes on. To get it, just to get it go, to kick the can down the road though. Okay? Let the Mother Nature worry about the future. We just kick the can down the road though. At this very moment, we're approaching the end right, of the year, right?
Correct.
And then we're going to enter into another tax year. So end of the year, what advices you want to give to my audiences to keep better off?
Okay, so a few things to know, because as we are in the changing market right now, one thing that remains unchanged is so far we still are under individual mandated health insurance coverage. So when you file your taxes, your CPA or your tax preparer, or even if you do it online yourself, they will be asking you for your 1095 form, which is a form that proves that you have health insurance coverage from when to when.
Or otherwise you face a penalty.
Yes, otherwise you will receive a tax penalty. So the penalty-wise remain unchanged. It's either $695 per adult, half of that for children in the household, or 2.5% per adult, half of that for children of your annual income.
Oh yeah, that is a very good point, all right? Okay, let me, allow me to do this little insertion,
Okay.
right? And I believe my audience is not smart, right? And when sometimes things become the worst, right? They may compare my cost of buying insurance from free market myself without a mandate or without a subsidy. And the penalty. Let's see which is more, right? Probably they would say, hey, look, I'm happy to be penalized rather than having to take that much money out of the pocket.
Correct.
They will do so.
Yes.
And then at the end of the day, what risk they run is their own health.
Correct.
And then the chances of an end of an emergency are increased or hiking, right? And the death rate are soaring, things like that. And well, go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I have a lot of consumers this year.
Yeah.
Because as you probably are aware of, a lot of consumers are facing at least 20% of premium increase. For example, myself, I'm around between 20 to 30. My premium for a silver plan without subsidy is around $250 current year, 2017. Going forward to next year, my premium is more than $290 for a silver plan. That's about a 20% increase in my premium. Because of that, a lot of people are saying, I really can't afford.
With subsidies, are you paying how much?
With subsidy, depends on my income. So if I have a mid to lower income, I may be paying around $80 to $100. Mid income to mid high income, I'm paying probably $100. And then over that, it's around $100 to $200. Yeah. So right now I don't qualify for subsidy, unfortunately, but because of that, I really feel the premium hike, because even with the premium I pay, when I go visit doctor, I have to pay $45 for a family doctor visit and a $75 for a specialist visit. If my specialist order me a scan, say MRI scan, I have to pay $300.
And to me, I'll let you finish the points of your advices, and then I have my philosophy to share with you.
Okay.
How about that? You finish on that one.
So one thing I want to inform our consumers is that it's very important to everyone to take a note that you will need your 1095 form by the tax, when you file tax next year for 2017, that form has 3
Oh,
versions.
that's the one that they come along with your provider and the CPA, your CPA will ask for it. That's
Yes,
the one, right?
correct.
I see.
That one will have your name, will have your social security number, and most likely will have a January to December 2017 on there that will have marks. So if you're marked off, meaning you have coverage, no worries. But if not marked off, you will be penalized for the months you don't have coverage.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. What else? What else do you want to advise our people?
So there are 3 forms of 1095 form. 1095A is for people who have Cover California, who bought insurance with subsidy. And second form is 1095B as in boy.
Regardless if the person that work or not work, doesn't work.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Everybody needs that.
Everybody needs it. If you have coverage, you will receive.
For example,
one.
my wife, she doesn't work. She's a housewife, and she has to do that too. At the time when I file tax return for the house,
Correct.
and I have to include that piece of paper.
Correct. Because that will be required by the CPA or the tax preparer, because you guys most likely are married, file jointly. So everybody who are on the tax return will be needing a 1095 form, whether it's A, B, or C. Yeah. So 1095 form B is for health coverage that purchased outside of Cover California, maybe Medicare, maybe Medi-Cal.
Yes, such as myself.
So you will be receiving a different form as your wife.
I recall last year I see a big letter,
Horizontally.
big envelope, horizontally, and that has lots of check box or something like that.
That's the form we're talking about.
That's the form. Okay. All right.
So and also there's also.
So make sure my CPA has it.
Yes, you
Okay.
definitely want that,
Okay.
so you don't
All right.
pay for a
Good,
tax
good,
penalty.
Good advice.
Yeah, one last form is 1095C as in cat. That form is for employer-sponsored health insurance buyers, which means maybe I am an employer, I buy insurance for my employee, so my employee won't be receiving Form A or Form B. They will be receiving Form C. So there are 3 forms of 1095. We want to make sure consumer receive the right kind of form, or else you will end up in a wrongful place. So we want to make sure you're informed of that. And you can go ahead with your point.
I see. Okay. All right. My dear audiences, my lovely friends, we are here talking about health insurance, which is Obamacare. In California, you're talking about covered California is a part of Obamacare anyway. And we're talking about the danger we're facing, the risk we're facing, the challenge we're facing. There are lots of things pointing to one direction. Things are getting hotter and hotter and hotter, right?
Correct.
Now, like I said, well, life goes on, good day or bad day, and then another day will come, right? So to push the issue further, to kick the can down the road though, we want to make 2017 a year wrapped up in a way like reasonable, right?
Correct.
And see as to what will happen in 2018, that's another issue or a different story. Well, let God worry about that, right? Let's take a very short moment now. When we come back, we'll continue finding the problems, and probably I would throw my philosophy in the discussion to see what a professional would say to my philosophy. Stay with us, please. Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, ladies and gentlemen, my dear fellow Californians, my dear fellow Americans, and regardless who you are, where you are, we're talking about Obamacare, which is the issue that we would probably want to care about in the most possible way, because it is related to you, your health, your life, right? Okay. Now, with me in a discussion about healthcare, about Obamacare, about the covered California, is my good friend Coco Wang. Young as she is a specialist in the area for many, many years. Founder and the CEO of Gold Honor, and she is knowledgeable and very knowledgeable, and she is sharing her views, her views about this issue overall from head to toe. Now, I told my audiences that I would come back to share my philosophy. Okay, the philosophy is like this. Okay, to lots of people, they think that it is government's mercy laid upon us to give us the custody, give us the subsidy. Right? For which they are either thankful, for which they are angry, for which they are whatever they think, right? Positively or negatively, they take that as a mercy from the government. As a matter of fact, in my philosophy, the subsidy is the value that you have accumulated during your lifetime, long or short, whatever, doesn't matter, accumulated there. It is there, it is the money, it is my money. I'm getting it back through the channel of healthcare. Am I doing the right thing, or am I doing the wrong thing, or misleading?
I think you could say that. Just think about Medicare, right? We file tax for as long as we worked. Maybe since 16, you know. And then by the time it comes to Medicare, when we're turning 65, we apply for the insurance. Government pays for our portion A, we pays for the portion B, which is government pays about $500 a month. You know, if you didn't file tax enough for 10 years, you will be paying that out of your own pocket. So that's kind of like the same thing as what we're doing right now, what we're experiencing right now.
Another word, it is a matter of fact, it is our money, right? I want you to make sure that you are not just accepting or ask the government for mercy. You are collecting your own money only through the healthcare channel. Now, with that as a foundation, as a prerequisite, right? Somebody who comes in to cut it off is robbery to me.
In a way, yes.
Not only in a way, but from head to toe, I believe it's a robbery. It's my money accumulated there. My contribution to the society. I've been paying tax, SSI, whatever tax, on the form. You have all the names. I've been paying that, right? So now it's time I get that money back. So do you think, as a professionals, in addition to provide services, you guys should form a organization or whatsoever to voice out, to let the government know that you're causing social problems? You're causing social disturbances. Someday, somehow, there are going to be gunshots. Am I right?
Yes. So let's back up a little bit on the tax subsidy. I want to mention that even though, you know, we are good people, we're filing taxes, we are abiding the law, you know, doing our duties.
We're law-abiding people.
Yeah. But there are a lot of individuals who are currently insured. They never filed taxes before. Those people are maybe they never like disabled, they weren't able to work, or immigration who immigrated here allows them to claim for the subsidy. So these people never file taxes. Maybe some are unable to file taxes, or they don't have the ability to work. But because we have to cover so many of those individuals, that's why our premium is hiking and hiking and hiking, even though probably our income tax is still the same over the years. And governments keep on saying that we have a shortage, we need to increase premium from the insurance company because we need to cover our expense. So these, I'm not trying to blame these people, but these people are a portion of the, a part of the problem, why, you know, we're experiencing such a struggle right now.
Of course. I'm glad that you mentioned that, you brought that up. But to me, as a show host on this job, it is always my understanding that there is a balance. There's always a balance between humanity and a social justice.
Correct.
Right? You're talking about social justice, you encourage people who work the most, who contributes the most,
Correct.
gets the benefit, right? And only by doing so can we push the positive elements of society forward. Otherwise, you're encouraging the negativity. Am I right?
Yes.
And then on the humanity side, we are not jungle people. We are a society, civilized society.
Correct.
We have less fortunate. We have the weekend people, right? What they call back there, they call weekend people, and then we still to care about them.
Correct.
Okay, now the way to me, the way to balance is that whenever you have an excess, do it. All right, you don't want to kill yourself doing it.
It's your right.
Am I right? Okay. It looks to me that okay, you can probably tighten your belt a little bit, not totally out of food. You can tighten your belt a little bit to save a little bit of money to help others who need. For that, I give both hands, right? And you don't want to kill yourself in order to do that. So, do I make a philosophy sounding philosophy?
I think so, because I think as a resident, as a social part of the society, we all owe responsibilities, and we are living in a shared community. Whether it's social security benefit, whether it's access to healthcare resources, whether it's the rights to claim for some sort of benefit like retirement benefit or disability benefit or workers' compensation, those are all shared markets.
Yeah.
I think a part of the reason why I think a lot of people are undereducated. By that I mean they need to be more willing to give, be more willing to contribute, and understand they owe responsibility to this pool. And outside of that, people who are contributing a lot, they should. That's why Mr. Donald Trump is posting the tax cut, because.
Good point. A very good point. My take, if I may say my take, I may introduce my take to my audience that whoever happens to be in the country, okay, let it go that way, because it is something already there. Is the existence.
Correct.
You can't overturn it, right? To deport them whatsoever, you can't do, because literally you do not have the money, neither do you have the time or manpower. Okay, just let it stay. Now, I am 100% support the idea of increasing the threshold for future immigrants.
Correct.
They have to be above certain levels of education. They have to be above certain level of financially. They have to work for their own subsidies before they get these subsidies, and so on and so forth.
Correct.
If you lift those threshold over time, it will benefit the future of this country. Otherwise, we're just stuck it up.
Correct. I totally agree with you.
You agree with me?
I agree with you.
So,
we're on the same line.
Yeah. I remember there's one time, I mean, Donald Trump, his only problem is that he's like a flip-flop all the time. He says something and later he forgets it. And then he comes back with it. That kind of way. I remember once he says that there is an education requirement at the door of the United States. You have to pass certain level. You don't want to get all the ignorant people into your country.
Correct.
To suck up your system. Whoever happens to be inside already, okay, we take it. How about that?
Yes. And I also have a take on the issue is that really between the subsidy and what we're making as an income, it's like a jigsaw. The higher your income, the less subsidy you get. The more subsidy you get, the less the income you have to have. So that kind of, the fact that everybody have rights and access to the subsidy, despite where they're coming from, despite their residential status, is promoting people to make less income. Because of that, I think we need to have a more well-rounded, rule or qualification for people applying for subsidies. Just because I think that's to protect our future.
Then I may disagree a little bit. That's exactly where humanitarianism kicks in. Because you're not talking about who contributes the most gets the most of a subsidy, right? Because the fact is that you have less subsidy is that you are better off without, right? You make enough money that you do not need the subsidy.
That's
so
true.
let the subsidy go to the needy people.
Correct.
Or otherwise, what I said just now as the philosophy, whenever we can, we move the little money to them. That is the money we move to them. Otherwise, you want to say, hey, just 100% rely upon the philosophy of encourage the top.
Correct.
Right? Whoever works the most and encourage them the most, give them the most subsidy, and then the people would be left, the vulnerables will be left with no care. So
Correct.
with that mingled, we want things still a balance in between the two. We don't want to kill ourselves to do it anyway.
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right. And anything else you want to advise my audience? I have about 2 more minutes.
Okay. I just want to mention something about the exemption for tax penalty.
Okay.
As we know, right now still individual mandate health insurance, but you do have some exemptions. You can avoid tax penalty. Things like if you are not required to file taxes, maybe you're like a traveler with a traveler visa, you have a short-term gap in your coverage, meaning consecutively speaking, less than 3 months, you're still okay. And then you have a hardship, you can prove your hardship. Maybe you had a part-time job and then you simply can't afford it. You know?
Can't afford it. Okay.
Yeah, and then you are incarcerated, which most likely is not applicable to most of us. You're not lawfully present. And you have some religious conscience. Maybe you apply for a religious group's insurance that is basically a pool-based, a money pool-based, needed-based. So those are also exempt. And also, if you're in some sort of health cost-sharing ministry or
Cost sharing?
ministry, meaning they form a group, they apply with the government saying that people who apply for the organization, they agree to share each other's health insurance cost, and we form a pool of money that whoever needed, we just pay for them.
That's probably the only way out for the future.
It will be cheaper, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also the last one, but not the least, we have the American Indian tribes. Those are specialties that are also exempt.
Well, those are the political issue. We owe them a lot.
Correct.
We owe them a country.
Yeah.
All right.
So.
Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
advices. My dear friends, my lovely audiences, today I'm so glad we were able to provide you information as needed. And thank you for watching, my dear friends. And to Coco, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you.
Good.